Coming up on today's show.
I think that you have to think of both the tangible and then the intangible. So one of the first things I do is ask someone to think about, okay, what are all the tangible things and things you could touch in your life?
Well, I think one of the first tools that I would make sure that all of my clients have are set sort of checklists or to-do lists for different areas of the house.
And the color coding for especially with people that have ADD or ADHD is fantastic, and the reason why is if something is out of place, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Highlights from our third Organizer411 event today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. On today's show, we're going to play highlights from our third Organizer411 event featuring live Q&A with three professional organizers, Lisa Montanaro, Ramona Creel, and Kim Oser. So sit back and enjoy these highlights from Organizer411. Well, hello and welcome to our Organizer411 event today. I'm John Hunt from Smead.com. A little under the weather today with my voice not quite making it, but I'm not going to do much talking today because we have an incredible panel of top professional organizers who are going to take your questions live today. I'm going to introduce our panel today. First of all, Kim Oser, needanotheryou.com. Kim, how are you today? And tell us a little bit about where you're located and your business.
Hey, John. Apparently I'm doing better than you are today, and I am in the Washington, D.C. area, and it is currently raining, which means it's not snowing, so we are very happy about that. We've had our share this year. And I am the owner of needanotheryou.com, and I have a professional organizing business as well as productivity training and tech consulting. So I'm a certified professional organizer. I've been doing this 11 years now. And I also do speaking on the topics of organizing and productivity internationally.
Awesome. So, well, at least you're not in Boston where they had 100 feet of snow this year. So Washington, D.C. is not that bad. But
no.
We'll move on to the other side of the country to Lisa Montanaro from lisamontanaro.com on the West Coast. Lisa, tell us about your business and where you're located and the kinds of things you do.
Absolutely. Good morning. Well, at least it's morning here. So I'm now located in sunny Davis, California. I have been here for about 2.5 years, but I'm from New York, so I can absolutely remember what it's like to be buried in snow. So my sympathy. I have been in business now for 13 years. I am an attorney who jumped ship and defected from the practice of law in 2002, and I did start as a professional organizer, and I am a certified professional organizer. But now I mostly focus on productivity consulting for organizations and for individuals, and I do a lot of professional speaking around the country and the world. And like Kim, I also do international work because with things like Google Hangouts and Skype, it's just so easy to reach your clients. And I also serve as a business coach to professional organizers around the country and the world. So, yeah, it's wonderful. Absolutely love it and blessed to be doing it.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I would say that she's usually in the West Coast, but you never know with Ramona because she's everywhere. Ramona Creel, ramonacreel.com. Where are you today? And tell us a little bit about your business.
I am actually on the West Coast today. I'm a full-time RVer, so I could be in many different places at any point in time. But yes, I am on the West Coast. I'm in Los Angeles, enjoying the lovely sun and beautiful weather right now. My business is a little bit different than it used to be. I was in one location. I spent a lot of time working with clients, you know, one-on-one. And now I've kind of shifted my business a little bit more to the virtual organizing and the coaching so that I can work with folks wherever I am in the country at that moment. I do a lot of speaking and writing. I actually have written 2 books, The Professional Organizer's Bible, and then also The A to Z of Getting Organized, which is a picture book for, grown-up picture book for the chaotic and cluttered. And I do a lot of coaching, like Lisa does. I do a lot of coaching of new organizers and veteran organizers who are looking to grow their business. I kind of come from a different background because I'm a social worker, so I'm more from the touchy-feely, get inside of your client's head side of things, but I work a good deal with folks who are trying to improve their own practices as well, and I just absolutely love it. And I love this weather. I am so glad not to be on the East Coast right now, I'll say that.
Okay. Well, we'll let the weather aside because some people are watching this live, and some may be watching this in the middle of summer. So anyway, our kind of our overall theme, not that we're limited to this today, is spring cleaning, because we're almost at spring at the time of this recording, and we want to talk about what some of the rituals that people go through when they get ready. I think it's cabin fever, whatever you want to call it, that people do. But we'll start with Kim on this one. Kim, what are the steps to getting ready for spring cleaning? I guess, you know, some people just get overwhelmed by the whole fact, but if you're working with a client, how do you get them ready for spring cleaning?
I agree with you that it is a mindset that we've got this term, and I don't know if it's a marketing term or where it ever came from with spring cleaning, but I do agree that it's a mindset. So a lot of people think, oh, it's spring cleaning, I'm going to try to get myself all together now. But I also think that it might be leftover resolutions that just didn't quite happen. And so now people are like, okay, I want to get outside, and I don't want to be stuck inside with my stuff. So I've got to do my spring cleaning so that I can get out and have some free time to enjoy myself. So I think that getting people into the mindset of spring cleaning, number one, is to create rituals and schedule time to do it. And there's certain things that are done for spring cleaning every year, depending on where you live and what type of living situation you're in. So I think that just sort of kind of creating those rituals for spring cleaning, so that there's less unexpected.
Yeah, I understand. That's Lisa. I'm going to throw this over to you as far as, you know, getting organized to get organized, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at here. What kinds of tips do you have for people to get in the mindset and to, you know, what do they need to have ready to go? And another question to kind of a follow-up on that is, a lot of spring cleaning takes more than one day. How do you get motivated to get it done when you know it's probably going to take more than one day?
That's a great question. So in terms of how do you get ready to get ready, I think that you have to think of both the tangible and then the intangible. So one of the first things I do is ask someone to think about, okay, what are all the tangible things and things you could touch in your life that you need to start to think about either decluttering or downsizing or taking out, because you may be putting things away from the winter. So I first think seasonal changes. So I think change is one big thing. And then what are all the changes you need to make around tangible things? So for example, yesterday I put away all the flannel sheets and all the heavy, heavy linens and took out all the spring ones. So that's just an example of one tangible. You know, maybe taking everything out of the garage, and don't laugh, I actually clean my garage floor and hose it out and everything, and so that's something I kind of do every year. So I would first think of all the tangible things, and then there's the intangible, which is what Kim was getting at, which is how will my schedule change, how will my resolutions change. So I think the first thing people need to do is map it out. So maybe put a line down the middle of the page and think, what are all the tangible things, and then what are all the intangible, temporal, cognitive things, and start there, and then move on to the plan, and then they can execute the plan. But the second thing you brought up is that this will not happen in one day. I mean, you know, maybe you can do something in one day, like change the linens, but it's probably going to take several weeks. So I think people need to be committed to the change process and not think that they're just going to snap their fingers.
Right. Well, Ramona, I'm going to give you one of these creative questions, which is, if you could only have 3 resources or tools for spring cleaning, what would they be?
Well, I think one of the first tools that I would make sure that all of my clients have are set sort of checklists or to-do lists for different areas of the house, because I think that's a lot of why spring cleaning becomes overwhelming to people, is they feel like they're having to sort of make it up from scratch every year, and you're doing the same stuff over and over again. I mean, let's be honest. So there's no reason you can't have just a preset list of things that you are going to be doing in each area of life for each area of your home, and then that also helps with kind of breaking it down into bite-sized chunks too. So I think the second thing that I would have for my tools would be a little schedule where I can say, okay, today's the day that I'm going to do spring cleaning in the bathroom. Today's the day I'm going to do spring cleaning in the garage. I personally would never ask a client to try and tackle the entire house, you know, in one spring cleaning swoop, because that's just too much. So break it up into, you know, reasonable little segments and attach one to each day. And clearly I am list gal, because the third thing I would have is a list of supplies I needed, or a list where I'm keeping track of things that I need to do, repair, buy. That's the big thing that I think spring cleaning is great for, is you're going through and you're eyeballing your entire life. And you're sort of saying, oh, crap, I meant to do that over here and I never got around to it, or that really needs fixed, or I need to replace that. Keep a list with you and be marking those things down as you see them and think of them, and then that way you can tackle them and they're not just floating around in your head, you know, gnawing at you like, oh, I know there was something I needed to do. No, it's right there. I'm going to sit down and do it. So.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, we have a question here from someone who has just started a new business and doesn't know what to keep and what not to keep. So how do you set up a good organizing system if you're just starting up a new business?
So there are a few layers to that, but to make it succinct, one of the first things I do is set a record retention policy for that business. So especially when people are not sure what to keep and for how long. And so in the beginning of a business, I would think about, okay, what are all the business operations? So typical things would be like administrative, marketing, finances, clients. And I would set up the files based on the way that person's brain works so that they can find the files again and maintain them. Because when we file things, it's really about storage. It's really about retrieval, not storage. So I would help them come up with a record retention policy, like, how long do we want to keep these things, and make sure that they actually write it down, because a lot of people don't write down their record retention policy. And then I would come up with a long-term operations manual for them, so as they're operating the business, they actually can get their hands on everything and know what they need to keep. In today's day and age with our technology, you can have such little paper, it's amazing, but we do probably all see this, all three of us. People still hold on to paper like it's their firstborn. But I would probably also make them friends with a digital scanner and with something online like Dropbox, so that they would feel more confident to not have to keep as much paper from the beginning.
Awesome. Well, Kim, I'm going to give you this question from Wendy. She says, I wear several hats at my job and have tried different ways to organize and somehow separate my jobs. She says, I use color to organize. It's very frustrating because not only do I have ADD, but also OCD. I'm always looking for newer, better ideas. So how can you get someone through that?
So if I understand correctly, she's running two different businesses?
Well, she's got several jobs at her, I guess, one business. It wasn't clear, but okay. I think she says I wear several hats at my job, so I'm assuming it's one business.
Okay. The color coding for, especially with people that have ADD or ADHD, is fantastic, and the reason why is if something is out of place, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So if you see that there's an orange folder where the red folders are, you know that the orange folder is in the wrong place. So I would suggest that she stick with color coding, but then to make a color representative of a certain area. So like, let's say that there's permanent records that she would need, some of those like incorporation documents or whatever it might be for her specific business, be a certain color like red, because that would be permanent, and then anything that has to do with financials be green, so that would deal with anything that has to do with money, and so that she utilized the colors not just in a way that's pretty, but in a way that makes sense by category. So if something is out of place, it'll also help her OCD and ADHD, because things will look orderly, which would help the OCD part, but then by the colors showing when things are in place or out of place, if something is in the wrong place or something is sitting out that's a color, you can quickly look and see where it belongs.
This is Keeping You Organized, and you are watching or listening to highlights from our third Organizer 411 event. It was a live Q&A with professional organizers Lisa Montanaro, Ramona Creel, and Kim Oser. We'll get back to more of Organizer 411 after this break.
In a world of information overload and desktop chaos, there's a force that brings order to the workspaces of productive people. Coming this summer to anyone who wants to be organized and perform at their best. Viewables.com, the only place on the internet that lets you instantly create, print, and save your file labels. Go to Viewables.com from any computer. It's fast, it's easy, it's free. If you want to control your paperwork, then the solution is obvious. Viewables.com by Smead. Coming this summer.
We are back now on Keeping You Organized. Today, our show focuses on highlights from our third Organizer 411 live event featuring professional organizers Ramona Creel, Lisa Montanaro, and Kim Oser. So let's get back now into highlights from Organizer 411.
Lisa, let's talk about a question from Debbie. It says, I have a home office and craft room. That's kind of an interesting combination. It always seems to be a mess. How can I organize all my different supplies?
Well, one of the first things is I'd ask Debbie, do you have another space so that you can split that up and not have a multi-purpose room. And that may not be possible, which is why she's combined them. But if it is possible, Debbie, the first thing I would do is have a defined space for each of those, because it may be a mess, your words, because maybe there was just too much stuff in a finite amount of space and it just doesn't fit in that box. If not, I would figure out ways to separate them a little more efficiently, assuming that they are infiltrating into the other space, and that might be why it feels messy to you. So maybe putting up dividers even in the room, and you can come up with a pretty divider if that's something that's aesthetically pleasing. But here's the thing, and a lot of professional organizers would agree with me, this may not be a system breakdown, this may be a behavioral human breakdown, meaning that it may be a mess because you haven't truly set up a system that you can maintain. So I would start from scratch, and I would go through the process of looking at that space, figuring out, does everything that's in there need to be in there? Does everything in there have a home? Does the home make sense in terms of the system? And can it be easily maintained? And if not, then she needs to actually go through the organizing process in that room with each piece of item and with each zone in that room, and then, and only then, can she truly maintain it. So I don't know, not knowing, looking at the space, I don't know if the mess is human breakdown or system breakdown, but 85% of the time it's usually a human breakdown. So I would ask yourself, why can't you maintain that space, and how can we make it easier for you to do so?
Awesome. Kim, the next question is for you. It's about calendars, and I know you deal with this a lot. We've had a conversation about it before, but someone's asking about they used to keep their work and their personal calendar separate. What's your advice on that? How do you recommend someone going about either having their calendars together or separate?
It's really funny that you asked me that question, because I used to keep 2 calendars, and even in the early days of electronic calendars, I had 2 different devices. I had a work device and I had a personal device, and I kept 2 calendars, and someone challenged me to keep 1, because what was happening is I would commit to something on one, and then I would have to go reference the other one, and it was a lot of back and forth, and there would be things that I would be double booking on, or things that I would miss because I wasn't checking both places. So my recommendation is, whether you're using a paper calendar or you're using an electronic calendar, and the electronic calendars nowadays allow you to layer calendars, so you might have a work calendar that's through your business, but then you can also layer your personal calendar on top, and your business folks won't be able to see your personal calendar. So you're able to check things in both places and prevent overbooking or missed events or anything like that. But I would strongly recommend 1. It was a good challenge for me, because someone said to me, I challenge you, I'll give you 3 months. And because it was sort of a game, and I was like, well, I guess I'll see if I can do it. And I did it, and I never gone back.
That's great. Lisa, a question for you about how often should we purge our file drawer? Get rid of the files that we shouldn't necessarily hold on to.
I'm going to give you a typical lawyer answer. It depends. Because it really does depend. So, something like your insurance policy, I would only purge the old one when the new one arrives. Whereas something else you might not purge ever, like your will. So I'd say vital documents probably need to be purged a lot less, whereas documents that are like a 1 in and 1 out, like when you get the next month of something, you might not need the old month. But I'm also going to challenge people that 80% of all that paper doesn't need to be kept at all. So I'd say that you should actually purge your files now and probably never have them again, because you probably don't need as much paper as you think you do. And again, much of that can be found online or can be scanned. So I would ask yourself an important question when you open every file. Can this be found somewhere else or be repurposed into digital format? And that hopefully will help you whittle down your papers to begin with.
All right. Ramona, we're going to answer a question here from Lynn. It says, I used to be relatively organized but experienced an acute health issue for 2 years. I'm ready to dig back in, but I'm completely overwhelmed with the backlog. So what's the best way to start, both physically and mentally?
Yeah, and I understand that it's hard when you have, a life event that throws you off track trying to get back again. The thing that you have to remember is you're not going to do it all overnight. I mean, you had an extended period that you were kind of away from being organized, and it's going to take a little while to get back. So my first advice is always be really, really patient with yourself. Sit down and look at the areas of your life that need to be organized. Maybe you've got a paper backlog. Maybe you've got a bunch of clothes and junk in closets that, don't serve a purpose in your life anymore or are not relevant to how you live these days. Maybe you've got, a lot of correspondence to get caught on. Whatever, whatever it is that you need to get in order. Kind of sit down and create your little list, because I love my lists, and put things in relevance in terms of what's the most painful thing going on in your life right now, the thing that's just the thorn in your side, the pain in your neck, you cannot stand it anymore, you need to get that fixed. Well, that's the top of your list. And the next most irritating thing goes next, and work your way down to create priorities like that. And then just set aside, like I said before, pick a day and set aside some time to tackle just that first thing on your list. Maybe it's the paper. Maybe it's all the paper on your desk. So sit down and go through the pile, and for each item say, what do I need to do with this? Does it serve a purpose? If it does, great. Put it over here. This is your rough sort. And then we'll worry about going through and setting up categories and getting all of that, detail-oriented work done later. Just clean out the trash to start out with. Then you can come back another day and sit down and go through your paper and actually get it in the files where it belongs. But don't try and do everything at once.
Lisa, I'm going to go to you now and want to ask you about, this one is about what's the best way to organize or label files, like category names, alphabetical, what's the best way to do it?
That's a great question.
Don't say it depends.
No, I won't. I'm not a big fan of alphabetical except if it's within a category. So I tend to tell people to use a categorical naming system. So like I wouldn't want a file named Jones, which is the name of Let's Pretend a Client, next to a file that has to do with like my marketing plan, because those have nothing to do with each other. So I would say first think in categories. So again, for a business, the categories might be administrative or operations, marketing, client care, customer service, etc. And then within those actual categories, then it makes sense, let's say, to alphabetize. But even the categories can change so much per person. So it depends on the way your brain thinks. So I would tell people that that's one thing in terms of naming categories, is go with what comes first, because you open a drawer and you might not have looked at that category for months. You want to remember, like, instinctively, what would I have named that? Another thing about naming files and actual labels is I tend to use what's called straight line filing within a category. So if I'm opening a drawer, I want to see like all of the marketing, I want to see all the little labels on the left. When it switches, let's say, to the middle, it's because it denotes switching a category. So now that moved on to operations, for example. And like industrial psychologists have studied this for years, that when you have zigzag files, your brain goes, ah. But when you can see like nice, clean lines, and then you see a difference in the lines, it's because your brain notices that a category has switched. So it's something that a lot of organizers use, but the general public hasn't caught on to that yet. And a lot of people buy a file box, and it's like left, middle, right, and that's how they set up their filing system. And then when they go to open it, it's chaotic. So if you don't have a straight line filing system, I'd say to switch to that and just watch your little brain go, ah.
Kim, we're going to go to you with this question from Mark. He says, I own my own business and am the only employee for the last 9 years. I'm overwhelmed with all my stuff and tempted to just purge most of it, but I have the same issue at home, not enough time, too much stuff. And so any advice you have on how do you get started, getting a sense of accomplishment, getting something, done?
I'm assuming that Mark is talking about papers because you said he's a business owner. Yep. And he's the sole employee. But there are scanning services for folks that want to get rid of paper that don't have the time to set up their own scanning system. So there are different scanning services that you can mail your information away, your documents away, or your receipts away, and they will scan them, and they will put them in a system for you. The IRS has accepted scan receipts, I believe, since 1997, so this is not something that they're new and just trying out. So people should feel comfortable that if they scan things, the biggest key about having scanned anything, whether it's documents, receipts, financials, pictures, whatever it is to have a backup system. So as long as you have a backup system for whatever it is that you're scanning, you can feel safely comfortable purging the documentation. And like Lisa was saying earlier, is you don't, as long as you have a category or a system that is set up. For my business, I like to have things set up in the categories of the 1040 and of the Schedule C for the business. So I have file folders that I keep some paper in, and then I also have electronic file folders. And in these electronic file folders, they're named under the tax categories that the IRS sets up, so that it's easy for me to find when I need it. And, heaven forbid there should be an audit, I know exactly where to go and provide that documentation.
I want to give each of you an opportunity. I'm going to start with Ramona to talk about your business and give your contact information, what kinds of clients you work with, and how people can get a hold of your website, you let us know how we can contact you. So Ramona, let's start with you.
Sure. Well, you know, like I said, I'm on the road part of the year. I'm parked in one place part of the year. So if I'm in an area where clients need help, I'm more than happy to do the hands-on. I do a great deal of virtual organizing and phone coaching and those kinds of things. And I have a very holistic attitude about what getting organized means. Again, because I come from the social work background, I think it means things like finances in order and getting rid of toxic relationships and things that waste your energy and sort of suck the life out of you. So I go lots of different directions with my clients. Anyone that wants to talk to me, I'm always happy to offer free advice. You can reach me at ramonacreel.com. And yeah, I'm happy to talk with anyone about, you know, working with them wherever they are in the world, honestly.
Great. Lisa, we'll go to you next. What are you up to? What kinds of clients are you working with, and how do people get a hold of you?
So I work with individuals virtually. I do phone, Skype, Google Hangout, so video and phone sessions around the world, and I love that. And I help them with productivity consulting, but as Ramona said, it's sort of holistic because, you know, they may think it's a time management issue, but there's maybe some other things going on also. And I have short-term clients that might just, you know, call me for a session or two, and then long-term clients that spend months with me. And then I do a lot of organizational consulting and speaking. So a lot of nonprofits, government agencies, law firms. So if any of you out there work for an organization and you realize, boy, we could use a productivity expert, give me a call. You can find me at lisamontanero.com. And I also offer a lot of online programs for people that are do-it-yourselfers or are on a budget. And lastly, I have an online university called lmguniversity.com, and that offers courses to help people improve their business life and career. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. That's my hub, and you could pretty much find me anywhere on social media as Lisa Montanero. So there you go.
Great. And Kim, how can we get a hold of you? What kinds of clients are you working with, and basically contact information?
I am working with a lot of entrepreneurial clients, small businesses as well. So a lot of people that used to work for large corporations and are now working from home. So, you know, that whole going to an office and having an office structure, that changes when you bring the business home. And so I help them transition to the home-based business, the home-based entrepreneur, as well as small businesses, and help with processes and workflows and using the technology that we are being thrown at us in every direction to our advantage. So rather than being a distraction, I help business owners take that technology and say, how can we make it work for us, and how can we become more profitable by using the technology that's being thrown at us? Because there's really some amazing things that are happening with technology. It's just very hard to keep up and implement it. So I'm doing a lot of that. My blog is needanotheryou.com, and that has all my contact information. I tweet very often and rapidly it's at Kim Oser, just like my name, and I'm on all the different social media profiles. So I can't wait to connect with everyone.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to watch the full Organizer 411 event replay, you can go to smead.com/hangout. That's it, and we'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized. Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized, we're going to talk about how to be more effective using lists and routines. And Kathy, you're going to talk more about the home.
Right.
Louise, you're going to talk more about the office. So
right.